Terry Blackburn here. I have a property portfolio worth over £10 million. I've built and sold multiple companies, some in seven-figure deals. I wrote 2 successful books, one won awards all over the world. All of these awards behind me are national and international awards for some of my companies. Coach people one-on-one, and I run masterminds. Now, if you like what I talk about in this session, if you listen to my podcast, you follow us on Instagram, you follow the YouTube page, if you like what I talk about and I resonate with you and you can relate to me, jump on my website, which is terryblackburnproperty.com. All of the different services that I have is on there. I'd love to work with you and I'd love to help you get to where you want to be, whether that's in property, whether that's in business, whether it's in sales, goal setting, whatever it is that you want to achieve and want to learn. I'm your man. Enjoy the rest of the episode and speak soon.
Hi and welcome to the Rags to Riches show with myself, Terry Blackburn. So today's episode is about how to turn your small property portfolio into a property empire. Now there's definitely some do's and don'ts on this. And there's definitely some things that you can do in order to make that happen quicker. Okay, so I'm going to share with you loads of stuff here that you can hopefully action off the back of this session and implement into your own business to scale from a relatively small portfolio to an empire. Okay, so first thing that you need to do, imperative, it's hugely important, it's obvious, but it's hugely important and impactful, is your mindset around this. So you can't just go from 0 to being hugely wealthy. You can't go from 1 buy-to-let to 100 buy-to-lets overnight. And you can't get there without a goal and you can't get there without a plan. So your mindset needs to be long-term. So you need to be thinking about long-term stuff. So that's making decisions that are in alignment with your end goal now, not next week or next year or 10 years time. You need clear, specific goals of where you want to get to. So what does an empire look like for you? That might be 20 properties. It might be 100 properties. It might be 1,000 properties. I don't know what empire looks like for you. Everyone's perception of that is going to be slightly different. So you start with the end in mind. What does the empire look like? Yeah. Once you've got that, you can then work backwards and think, right, well, that's X amount of properties. How much capital do I need to buy that many properties? How much cash flow is that going to generate? And then you work backwards and think, right, well, year 1, I need to do this, year 2, year 5, year 10, etc., in order to get to the empire. So you need clear, specific, measurable goals with action points that are broken down into monthly and quarterly steps in order to get to the big goal. The mindset of you can do this is massively important. You've got to believe that you can get there. Because if you don't believe you're going to get there, you're never going to get there. But there is some big players out there who are literally, I mean, I know some people that are buying 200, 300 plus properties per year. It's fine. Yeah. So there's quite a few people that are doing that, right? But you might be thinking to yourself, well, you are only worthy of doing 5 a year or 10 a year or 20 a year. There's always somebody doing more than you. And the good news is everybody started in the same place. Everybody at the top was once at the bottom. Everyone with 100 plus properties was once buying their first ever property, just like you. So you've got to believe that you can do this first, because that will then instill belief in you and your ability. It'll come across, you'll come across more confident. You're more likely to take action when you believe in yourself. And that is the starting point. It's obvious, but it's a starting point. So after that, there's definitely things that you can do in order to scale. Okay. And there's definitely things that you can do to scale quicker. And there's definitely some non-negotiables that you must do if you want to get to a relative size. So let's cover the non-negotiables first. Let's dispel the belief of this solopreneur bollocks. You need a team around you to get to the top. To get to anything of relative size, you 100% need a team around you. So you probably need some form of bookkeeper or in-house accountant when you get to a certain size to keep an eye on the numbers, money in, money out, keeping you on track, doing your P&Ls. Certainly when you get past 20 properties, you need that. There was one point for me when 10, 15 properties, it was all over the place. Now there's 11 companies, income shooting in from all over the place. There's a lot of assets, there's a lot of money floating around. If I didn't have an in-house bookkeeper, it would be all over the place. You'd lose control. So you need that at some point. Whether your accountant can do that for you now, when you're rising up, or you just do it yourself when you're growing up, or you get someone like that now, but it's an essential hire, in my opinion, if you want to scale. Another non-negotiable, some form of PA, whether that's a personal assistant, a PA, or whether that's a virtual assistant, a VA in a different country. So I've got a PA in Newcastle, and I've got a VA in the Philippines. The VA is £3.50 an hour. The lady in Newcastle is, I don't know, which is on decent money, 35 grand, whatever that is an hour. There's obviously a difference, right? But you need some help. You cannot do everything yourself, okay? And I don't also believe that you can be self-managing your properties when you get to a relative size. If you've got a handful of properties, some people manage them themselves. For me, I've always passed it on. I will never, ever, ever speak to a tenant. Why would I want to? Terry, the boiler's broke. Look, I don't want to know. Like, I want the letting agent to sort that out, so I don't get phone calls in the middle of the night. Yeah. So definitely some form of bookkeeper or accountant. Definitely some form of assistance, a VA or a PA, and pass it on the management of those properties. Yeah. You imagine managing 100 tenants. Some people do this. I spoke to someone actually just recently. He had 36 properties and he self-managed. And I was like, how, like, and some Airbnbs that he self-managed. And I was like, why? Oh, we quite enjoy that. And yeah, I felt like saying, what, you enjoy getting phone calls in the middle of the night and going to fix someone's boiler on a Sunday when you should be spending time with your family? Like, everyone's different, but for me, that is just, that's crazy behavior. I just wouldn't be doing it if it was me anyway. So I think that's a non-negotiable. And I think a great hire for me, and I think certainly if you've got multiple businesses in multiple industries doing loads of stuff that I do, and even when you get to a certain size, then an ops manager is really important. That's like top of the tree before you. Everybody else has the questions and the issues, goes to the ops manager before me. So that was a great hire for me because I was getting loads of different people in loads of the companies. Terry, what about this? What about that? This has happened, that's happened. And I was getting drawn into loads of nonsense when I can just have that layer. It's quite a senior position in my structure. They're the layer before me. So everything goes to them before, and then if they can't deal with it, then it comes to me. Or if they need my okay, it comes to me. But a lot of the bullshit, unfortunately, when you get to a relative size, that's what happens. There's no ends of, there's always some issue somewhere. It's a layer before you. So for me, those are the non-negotiables in terms of team members. The non-negotiables in terms of how your businesses need to be structured, you need systems and processes. So if it's just chaos, and you can get away with chaos in the early days, when you've got a handful of properties, when you're buying, wheeling, dealing, you can get away with lack of systems then. But as you scale, like, to give you an idea or an example, so I bought quite a few properties last year, and I think I viewed one of them, maybe two. I don't typically do viewings. I definitely don't go and see the builders when they're on site. I don't price materials. I don't go to Howdens and pick kitchens or Plum Centre to pick bathroom suites. Like, why would I? What if I'm imagine trying to do that on every property. If you're buying, a property a month, how can I possibly do that alongside everything else? So what I'm getting to here is you need systems in place. So my system is I've got people on the ground who first of all look through Rightmove, find deals that stack. Then they'll go and do a viewing, they'll run the numbers, they'll put an offer in on my behalf. And then once they've got a deal agreed, they'll come to me and say, Terry, I've got this deal. That's the price. This is how much money we need for it. And I'll give it the okay. Then they'll start the mortgage process for us with a broker. I'll then sign some paperwork. That's my only involvement at this point. I haven't viewed it, haven't priced the refurb. They've done everything, just showed me the numbers. They then will get the keys. They then meet the builders on site. They go and speak to the builders. I'm not going to speak to the builders. I'm not going on site. And I'm not normally getting involved in this really. The property's then built out. It's refurbed, if the exit sale. My team are then putting it on the market with an estate agent, selling it, and I'm signing some paperwork when I'm getting the money. Or if it's a refurb, it's getting if I'm holding the asset, it's refurbed, it's passed on to a letting agent, I'm just collecting the check each month. So you might enjoy a certain aspect of the process. I used to enjoy it. I used to be on site all the time, speaking to the lads, you know, picking the kitchens, doing all that. But when you get to a relative size, you just can't do that anymore. And you've got to take a bit of a step back and think, right, it's a business now, not just some properties that I'm buying. Unless you enjoy it, of course. But my point is here, it's a system. From finding the deal on Rightmove, to purchasing it, to refurbing it, to collecting any rent or collecting any sale monies, it's all automated, it all runs without me. So I could just go on holiday if I wanted to and not do anything. I can do a couple of phone calls from anywhere and it'll still happen. We've got targets, the team have got targets, it all runs without me. And that's a proper business. It's not a business if it doesn't run without you. It's a job. Yeah, so the title of this podcast is to go from a small portfolio to an empire. Staff is one, systems and processes is definitely another. Okay, now let's get into the nitty gritty of what you should be doing along the way. So you might not be ready for systems and processes, you might not be ready for staff, but what you are ready for. So I'm just sipping me coffee as we're speaking. If you're wondering, it's freezing in this studio. Just saying. So what you can be doing in the meantime is grow your network, yeah, and your knowledge. Network and knowledge. So grow your knowledge by getting a mentor, doing masterminds, reading books, listening to podcasts like this one. You're growing your knowledge. Because from a small portfolio to an empire, you need to be a different person. You need to know different things. You need to be more knowledgeable and more experienced to get there. Of course you do. So the only way you do that is grow your knowledge. Grow your network will help with collaborations. It'll help with knowledge as well. It'll help with meeting people, joint ventures, raising money and all of that. Okay? So you need a bigger and better network and you need better knowledge in order to go from small portfolio to empire. One thing you definitely need to master is raising money. You really, really do. Because your money will run out at some point. You need to raise angel investment, private funding, private investment from angels. You 100% need to do that in order to get there as quick as possible. Like, you just do. Unless you listen to this and you've got 20 million in the bank, then yeah, fair enough. You probably don't need to listen to this podcast because you've got an empire, right? But most people need to raise investment. So how do you do that? I've got a course on this. I coach plenty of people on this. I've done other podcasts on this you can listen to. But there's a load of ways of doing it, obviously, and there's loads of different structures. But you're using social media, you're using investment packs, you're messaging people on socials, you're taking people for coffees, you're reaching out to your network, reaching out to your friends and family, getting all over networking events. There's loads of ways to meet these people who've got money. You approach them in the right way with a proposal. You need good sales skills and negotiation skills in order to approach them in the right way. Say the right things, and you will attract investment. Yeah? Because imagine if you had £1 million in the bank right now, you're going to be able to do more deals than you're doing right now. More deals means you get to the empire quicker. You might want to do more joint ventures to build your pot of money so you can acquire more cash flow. You might want to look at low money down strategies. If you've got a limited pot of money currently, you might want to look at the low money down stuff. The lease options, assisted sales, I've did loads of podcasts on these previously. Go back and listen to them. You might want to do some of those strategies in order to do more deals. Lease options can be a cash flow strategy as well as a profit strategy. Assisted sales are obviously a profit strategy, but depending on what you want. But this is a knowledge thing again. If you had all of the knowledge that you need to have the empire, you'd already have the empire. Yeah. So in order to get somewhere new, you need to know new stuff. You need to understand and learn new stuff and take new levels of action in order to get there. And remember that none of this happens quickly. You know, it will take time. Certainly if that empire, your definition of an empire is 100 plus properties. That's going to take time, whether you like it or not. But you will get there, and you'll get there quicker if you do some of the stuff I've talked about. But just have a bit of a long-term mindset around this. An empire is an amazing place to be, but you've got to work to get there, right? It takes time, okay? I think other little things that you can do, certainly for me, probably, I don't know if it's the best decision I made, but it's up there with one of the best decisions I ever made from a business perspective. I'll just keep you hanging as I drink my coffee. One of the best decisions I ever made from a business perspective was to grow my social media. And most people think, oh my God, I can't do socials. I don't like socials. It's not for me. I don't know what to post about. I don't want to put myself out there, all that, right? I get it. I thought that too. But when I ramped up that social media, the amount of opportunities that I have had from social media is crazy. You're talking into the millions I have made, whether that's from mentoring and masterminds. More than that, I've had a load of joint ventures and angel investors come from social media. That's where the bulk of the money I've made from socials has came from. Joint ventures and angel investment, where people have approached me online, or I've spoke to somebody online initially, ended up meeting them for a coffee, and it's resulted in some sort of business venture. But if I didn't have that social media presence and I wasn't posting on there all the time, those wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't be as wealthy as I am without social media. Will you get to the empire quicker with social media or slower? It's quicker. And I get it. You don't want to do it. You don't like it. I get it. But do you really want the empire? Because if you really, really want the empire as quick as possible, embrace socials. Honestly, one of the best decisions I've ever made from a business perspective was to ramp that social media up, honestly. So that's the last point I'm going to end on. So remember, we've got clear goals, long-term mindset. We've got build your social media platform. We've got raise money, improve your network and your knowledge. We've got build your team, PAs, VAs, ops managers, beef out the team, bookkeepers. Make sure you're on point, you've got the structure. Believe in yourself, take the action. And if you mash all of that together, the empire it's happening. It's not a case of if, it's a case of just when. And it depends on how hard you put your foot on the pedal, how fast you go, is how much action you take and how much of this you do. Yeah? So thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, please give it a review on Spotify or Apple Podcast and do a little share on social media. I really, really appreciate it. So thanks a lot for listening. And remember, don't just take notes, take action.